right. Good evening. For our second match of the night, we are here for Drew versus Gavin. Greg Shaw will be with me momentarily. He just had to step away. His son woke up unexpectedly, so he'll be back at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, so I have someone to discuss this with, not just here on my own. All right, they have joined the game. And we have Drew on I Want That Map. And Gavin on HITCO, which is what we anticipated and discussed in between rounds. So we'll see how things go. Drew starting the shuttle interrupt and not prepared defenses. He gets the dead speak along with the standard Battle of the First Order and the map effect. Gavin playing Insurrection combo over Imbats along with Like My Father Before Me and Walkling. It's pretty standard starts for both of these decks. But this is again what Drew is anticipating to see. And Drew is again, this is game 2 of this match. He's up 23. So Gavin's going to have to pull this off by 23 with less than lost or 24 or more to win, which is going to be potentially pretty strong uphill battle, knowing that Drew, 1, anticipated HITCO, 2, has played lots of map over the last year. I think he may have gone 11-1 or 12-0 at one point over 2 months of the OCS with map. Had Drew had better runs in either of those months with his light side, he likely would have been a monthly qualifier instead the year-long qualifier. But he was very consistent throughout the year. He played all 12 games each month, I think for the second year in a row. And again, his run with map has been quite good. I think most of it was pre-errata. However, since Nationals and when Charlie and Dennis did quite well with the deck, the team has played a good amount, as have myriad other people in the community. So the deck is very well positioned. So Drew pulls the shuttle. He's going to use his Exegol sight to deploy the Emperor. Typical start, he has his grabber. Both players have a grabber. So the thing is, with the Drew being up 23 by diff, like Gavin has to play this game swinging for the fences, because if this is just typical back and forth, it obviously favors Drew. Like Gavin's going to have to commit too many resources. So it'll be interesting to see if Gavin made changes to his deck for that, like to put himself in a better position. All right, it looks like Greg is joining us.
Hello.
Welcome, Greg. I'm going to briefly just work on a couple settings here so the picture is better. You have not missed too much.
What do we got going on? All right. Gavin's on HITCO. Drew's on map.
Yeah, so I was explaining essentially that Drew was anticipating a couple different light sides possibly from Gavin, but HITCO was the most likely. So like Drew is prepared for this matchup. He had some cards specifically to help with the Yavin 4 Ops matchup, but he didn't overhedge in that direction. I think knowing Gavin's range, he and the team felt like HITCO was probably the most likely thing to expect.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I feel like we've seen some other, we thought as a team, we thought Yavin 4 was a possibility, certainly, but HITCO's definitely in Gavin's range. Maybe some other like let the Wookiee win kind of deck. I think we also maybe gave a little bit of a chance to something like Communing that we didn't necessarily expect, but it's just a solid light side deck, so can't rule it out completely. But yeah, I got to imagine Drew's feeling okay. He's got a game plan here, and given the match circumstances where he won game 1 by 23, he has a pretty solid plan in place for what he wants to do here.
For sure. That's pretty much what I was saying too, is that like Gavin's gonna have to play in a certain way to win by enough. So like Drew just needs to put himself in a position to where he's making Gavin play cards at the table, he's elongating the game. He by no means needs to play this game to win.
Yeah. So map, if left to its own devices, can churn out a lot of damage. So to your point, Gavin's going to have to try to disrupt that, maybe take some chances early. He's playing HITCO deck, which is a deck with a lot of copies of Jedi Luke, lightsabers, presumably all kinds of battle tricks. So probably Gavin's, I wouldn't even be surprised if he has multiple builds of HITCO, and he probably opted for something that has a little bit more blowout potential. One of his lists that maybe has some more Destiny adders. Maybe he's got a couple extra tricks that some of his other versions don't have. You'd expect to see something like that here. 23 isn't a huge differential, but it's not a huge differential to overcome, but you still have to take some more chances to win a game by 24 or more than you do to just win a game outright.
Yeah, especially when your opponent knows the number, right?
Yep. So I'm a little surprised here to see Gavin go with Luke to his own 2-2. It seems like he's kind of putting himself in a position where he's comfortable. He's telling Drew he's comfortable racing. He put his best character to a 2-2 site that he deployed, leaving the Jakku village wide open for Drew. So if I'm Drew, I'm thinking I just want to get set up at a system, get set up at the village, use some of my use pile pulls to find my key cards for this matchup. But I'm happy just sitting there. If I'm Drew, I'm happy just sitting there doing my 4 damage and eating 3 from Luke's drain. I mean, that math favors Drew, even if he ends up putting way more cards on table. With this current line, I think this is one that favors Drew to maybe not win the game outright, but at least lose by a narrow margin.
Right. Like well within the 23.
Yeah, I would have expected Gavin to just throw Luke right down to the village and force the action there. To the Jakku village, I'm saying get a bigger drain and force the action there.
Yes, not the Ewok village. I agree with you. Gavin's played a lot of HITCO, so I imagine he has a game plan for this. He did make Luke his agent, so it's not EPP Ray or any other resistance character. So I don't know. Maybe that is why he's like, I just want to strand Luke away from the fight, or you have to come off planet if you want to deal with him.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends what his space package is. Traditionally, HITCO plays no space, or maybe a very token, 1 or 2 ship space package. Maybe he's got some like heavier version of Home 1 space. That's a version that has existed here and there in the meta. But if he feels like he can put up more of a fight in space and potentially, take no damage or even clear Drew out of space entirely with whatever he's running, maybe that's an option. But again, playing that 2-2 just gave Drew 2 extra icons to kind of get his damage set up. Just kind of, I don't know, overall surprising line in the early going.
It's going to help. I think that 2 force is going to help Drew immensely. Yes, obviously he's taking a drain here, but over the course of the game, that extra force is going to help map a lot.
Yeah.
And Drew is probably going to play this game to draw a relatively large hand, cover the board where he can, go as wide as he can, avoid battling. And like, I'd be surprised if Drew initiates too many battles this game.
Yeah, I would agree. Drew's just trying to get his damage set up and keep the damage going.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. I just wanted to make sure that we we are not just talking into the ether. So glad you can hear us. And yeah, go dogs. And my neighbor went to Florida law school, so I saw him outside today, and he actually just said, "I hope you guys win. Our season's over. Good luck." So when even Gator fans have given up, I feel optimistic about the rest of the season. All right, so Gavin goes for another docking bay. We'll see. He only has a 7-card hand. I'm interested to see, does he go ahead and make a move to the Tawano Village here? Or does he have to dig? Like, it depends on if he has Silver Glen level of luck with your opening hand, I guess.
I can't imagine. He had a 6-card hand, and then he picked up the top card of his deck with his objective. I can't imagine he's got any kind of hand that can go to the Twanal Village this turn and not just risk getting. Like, he'd have to have like a solid character like EPP, Ray, and a Hujix in hand. If you just go down too late this turn, what's Drew getting next turn? Yeah, 17.
17. Stout.
With 3 saved, and he's probably gonna chain up, use pile search or 3. That just seems like bad news if he tries to go too late to any of these other battle round sites.
I agree with you. At a certain point, though, he kind of has to press the issue, or he has little chance of winning by enough.
Yeah, I mean, sure, he could maybe slam a card down this turn, still draw up a couple cards. I think he's probably better building a hand and then making a move next turn. Which seems like that's what he did.
Yeah. I'm mostly just positing like what could happen because these turns are going to take a while, and there's really only 2 options: play something or draw. Drew did end up playing the sand effect, so good to see that. We are a very unbiased commentary team. Greg and I were both on the phone with Drew before this game, talking through his card choices. So sand was a replacement for first strike, actually, for what Drew would have typically had in his deck.
Yeah, so I mean that should indicate exactly what Drew's line is, right? He's not going to be taking any aggressive spots here unless there's something way too good to pass up. You know, he's content to play a little more passively, set up his damage, keep pushing the damage through. And, you know, we also, part of that was our read on Gavin and his card choices in general. I feel like we've seen him play a lot of Rebel Leadership, Harvest, Gift of the Mentor, Skywalkers, that kind of stuff in the past. And one of the ways, you know, one of the avenues for Gavin to win this game by 24 or more, is to get an early beatdown in. And so playing the sand effect for Drew accomplishes a couple of things. One, it, you know, in a multiple destiny draw situation, it helps him keep more of his stuff on the board, but it also mitigates his risk somewhat of getting blown out in the first couple of turns by a huge battle with destiny adders. So, you know, it's got a quasi Gick effect to it, which is, again, one of the avenues that Gavin would have tried to use to get an early win by 30 or something like that.
Yeah, now he can play. Drew can play a much more relaxed than he might have in other situations. Going to almost any battleground, he's like, worst case, I'm probably losing whatever gets hit and 1 guy to destiny instead of multiple potential blowouts. So like sand just gives him, it's quite the insurance policy is what I'm saying.
Yep.
In 17, I mean, Drew is not winning for force at all. It's turn 3 and he's activating 17.
Yeah, he's going to have a ton of options open to him this turn. So he just picked up 1 card with Emperor. He's got 18 active, 12 in hand. He's got you know, a bunch of used pile pulls. It looks like he used one with Hux before I got here.
Yes, Hux in space.
So Hux, I don't know if he used the Hux pull, but yeah, he's definitely got cards in hand.
Yeah, he took Captain Phasma into hand with Hux.
Is this the second out of commission from Gavin here?
I think so.
Force push. So two out of commission combos. Interesting. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense that
He might have just anticipated Hunt Down, knowing that
two
like
things. Yeah, you anticipate Hunt Down as like a in-game meta call for something to keep the diff low from Drew's perspective, and so playing the out of commission transmission terminated combo to cancel Visage would help there. But also if he had to maybe if he had to race against something like ISB, he figures Image is going to hit the table at some point. He has a canceler for that. But interesting. So yeah, he played two of those, one at the end of his turn and one at the start of Drew's turn. So Phasma is in Drew's lost pile.
And fortunate for him that he did not hit the Phasma. He lost a Phasma off the top, and
right. Okay.
he has a Phasma in hand. So thankfully for Drew, that Phasma for now is safe in the lost pile.
Yeah, he may feel like he's got to deploy Phasma this turn because now there's two cards in lost pile. If Gavin finds another out of commission, he's right now he's looking at a 50-50 chance to put Phasma out of play before Drew gets his use pile search value out of playing the other copy. So he might feel like this is the turn to play it.
I'll be interested to see if he rolls the dice or not. There he goes. Yeah.
There's Phasma. Yeah, but also interesting is he got the shuttle all by itself up at Jakku.
I assume he's going to move it over to activate 2 Force.
Yeah. Or he's just feeling really bold with a barrier and a Gick.
If he doesn't move it, you have to assume he has something like that in hand.
Yeah, and also making an early read on Gavin having no space in his deck.
Yeah, or just like, I'm putting you to the test. If you want to come fight me in space, I have barrier Gick. I'm willing to do this, and now I'm still establishing a ground force, a drain with this. I now have resistance. Like, come at me, bro. Drew is not above. He's just like, okay, the shuttle's here. If you have something to deal with it, good. But I probably have answers in my hand. You're committing your resources. You have to pay to drain. I mean, he has 19 force active, but that is definitely knowing Drew. That is the mentality he probably has at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's just a nice feeling when your opponent force trains for 4, and you're like, well, it's just 2.
Right. I mean, he's got a plan, which is to lose this game by less than 23, but eating a drain of 4 on turn 3 is not something he wants to do, regardless of his
exactly
of his overall game plan.
His chances of winning by more than 23 are helped a lot by not eating drains of 4. And also now he kind of put Gavin to the test here, and Gavin had to go to the ground. He's like, okay, my shuttle is probably good.
Yep. So Obi and Lando going to the village. I mean, that's not too crazy. He's gonna go ahead and initiate. No seer around kit or anything to protect the Obi swings. So Obi's just going for Finn. That should do it.
Yeah, I mean, so interesting thing here is, won't Drew now just use Finn on Lando? Finn is already hit. So it's like, and now he doesn't even have to sand effect this battle.
Yeah, and he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose his Finn. Maybe he loses a copy of Pride, or maybe even Phasma can go at this point, depending on whether or not he has the other. Okay, so there's sorry about the mess.
Does Drew have imbalance? Yes, he does.
Yep, there it is.
That's my boy, Blue.
So that's the feeling of playing against Map when they have these turns where they pull off a couple of use pile searches. Is like they always have.
It's so everything. Frustrating. I know. You're like, yep. I'm going to play the card that would help me, and it's like, well, okay, you know what you're doing. You saw that this was my line, and oh, you took your canceler. Well done, thank you. And now we can go get a sandwich.
Yep, and then
and Drew does exactly as we predicted. Doesn't have to use sand. Kyla's gonna probably swing at Lando, hit him, cause a force loss. Gavin's going to take 2 just from losing this battle. I'm
Yep.
liking this position for Drew, given especially the way game 1 went.
Yeah, Drew's got to be very pleased with how this turn played out. I mean, his next turn, like you said, he's going to push a couple damage through just as a result of this battle that Gavin initiated. His next turn, he's going to drain for 3 in space, reinforce the Jakku site with whatever he has in his hand.
Probably 3 in space and 2 in the ground.
Yeah, and 2 on the ground. Yeah, this is getting cleared. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's doing 5 on the next turn. And he has a 7-card hand plus Emperor, so he should probably have 9 cards at the next turn.
Like, and that force loss was big.
With.
So Gavin lost Daughter of Skywalker V off the top, who is just a beast of a character right now in the meta. Okay, and you see Pops is wackling to get her back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate Drew hadn't pulled Coward or Secret Plans, but really, at this... Oh, sorry, he has...
Well, Coward... Coward's not going to...
I wasn't looking at Luke over there. Yeah. Well, there's the Secret Plans, at least in response. No future shenanigans for free. All right, so Drew's told Addison he's 7 for 25 power. So it's going to be 2 force loss for losing the battle. He's going to lose EPP, OB, and 2. And here's the
4, right?
Worse.
4.
Yes.
Wow.
4. Excuse me, 4.
So, should we reveal it?
No.
Okay.
I think the move is be as safe as possible.
I mean, he's still So it could be worse for 2. He's still taking 2 overflow, right?
Yes. I assume Drew will lose Phasma.
Yeah, unless he has the other Pride in hand.
He no longer has a Trooper Phasma to be as good. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That has to be a very demoralizing turn if you're Gavin.
Yeah, I mean, that was the battle he initiated, and now he's, he ate a lot of damage. Ooh. And there he, adding insult to injury, he tries to resilience his Obi back to come down again next turn. And like we said, Map always has the answers. Drew's got the cold feet to cancel that. I mean, that's huge. Cold feet goes use, resilience and Obi are both in the loss pile. That's just another card, another differential in Drew's favor.
And one less threat Drew has to deal with now. That from a tempo perspective, that was gigantic.
Yep.
I also can just imagine Drew is smiling because we were debating Min Canoe versus Cold Feet, landed on Min Canoe, and then Drew, on his own accord, decided to cut a different card and put Cold Feet in, and I believe has both in the deck now. So his intuition to keep Cold Feet in paying off for him. So good decision, Drew.
For sure.
Yeah, so Drew's going to do drains of 5.
Yeah, and so just looking at Life Force, Gavin starts the turn with 28 and Life Force 10 in hand. He's going to eat 5 here. So that's going to bring him down to, 33? So he's got 10 card cushion to work with.
While staring down continuous space damage.
Yeah, and that's counting his cards in hand. So, I mean, it's not looking great for him.
No. Drew 7 cards in hand, 16 active, so he has plenty of options. He could have decided to use Sam that last battle just to have like Steadfast or something to play this turn to speed things up. But
yeah, I think if he's got a handful of characters, I think he's content just playing his characters to the site, making sure he keeps his ground presence for another turn. And
Yep.
there we see Min Kainu. So yes, he does have Cold Feet and Min Kainu in the deck. Definitely patting himself on the back for that call.
Yep. I was saying but as you started, and I was like, but if he has a hand of characters, probably not the move. And there comes Min. Min Canoe. Did you really call him Mine Kainu?
I thought I said Min.
I'm just messing with
Yeah.
you.
And then, was that the last time we streamed?
I normally just
I don't
bust your balls for how you say tournament. So I don't know, it just came to mind.
Tournament?
Tournament.
No, there was something. The last time we streamed together, there was something that everybody wanted to make fun of me for. So yeah, Mara goes there as well. PV to the finalizer.
Drew
I mean, that
must
site
have Gick in hand. He has no fear about leaving Kylo's shuttle there, and he's just saying, if you want to come fight me in space, that's fine. I'll keep draining you for 4.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
As I say that, he moves. Drew is afraid. He must not have Gick in hand.
No, I think
No,
it's incredibly
actually, I
likely
think
he has the Gick.
No, now okay, he's swapping. He's gonna
Yeah.
shuttle
Put Hux.
move over, activate 2.
Yeah.
It's actually better than just leaving the shuttle alone.
Yep. He gets more economy.
Not a big fan of this system text. I think the combination of these two things is stupid. Your ship shouldn't move for free to a place that allows you to activate 2 force.
Yeah. So I was away from the game for a couple months when some of this like the virtual cards and some of the errata happened, and I remember coming back and looking at this new map, and I couldn't believe how insane the first 2 turns were. Like autoplay 2 turns, you get a ton of activation, you set yourself up for all your use pile pulls. I mean, map just has like the craziest first 3 turns out of any deck.
Yeah, wasn't it? It was turn 3 where like Drew's activating 17 with and already had finalizer in play.
Yeah.
And Emperor, you're like, this is silly.
Yeah. Finalizer, which adds to the drain. He had a Hux who gives you another use pile search, sets you up for another use pile search on a future turn. And that's why, going back to playtesting that we did prior to Worlds, I just felt bad for whoever was trying to playtest a new light side deck, because they had to go through the gauntlet of dark decks, always starting with a couple games against map, and it just got so frustrating.
Did you see the record from the Atlanta playtesting?
Yeah, which part of it are you talking about?
That Brian Fred was like 4-13 or something.
Because he was playing light side all the time.
He just had to play light side over and over again. And like, so everyone's laughing like, God, Brian, we just keep beating you. But he's like, light side's terrible. You just keep making me play light side. In retrospect, it's like, that's exactly what happened. But it made it more fun to be able to laugh at him for continuing to lose.
Of course. So, okay turn for Gavin, I guess. I mean, given the situation he was in, he gets Jin down to the village to hopefully turn off that 2 damage from the force drain there. But otherwise, he just drained and replenished his hand a little bit.
I would anticipate that Drew may have an answer for this. I'm pulling up his deck list, actually. Let's see what's up.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can think of 2 answers. But also, Gavin's at 21, life force 11 in hand.
Yeah, the 11 in hand is what concerns me. Like, Drew needs to just... He has Sniper and Ice Hard, so, like...
Right. So those are the 2 answers I was thinking. But this isn't like, from Gavin's perspective, like, yeah, he can shut this drain down for a little bit, but eventually he's going to have to come down and fight at the village anyway.
Oh, God.
And Drew's still going to have 3 damage in space. So, okay, he's trying to, it could be worse. I guess that's another avenue for him up until Drew grabs it.
I would assume Drew grabs it.
Yeah, okay, so he grabs it. It could be worse to reduce by another 2.
And that's that. And then a drain at the Dakar. I thought we were about to live the dream.
It's a big force pile. Just saying.
So obviously Drew does not have Sniper in hand because he activated down to just one in this deck.
Right. I mean, he could still have Isard. But again, it's not like he's too worried about that drain getting blocked. As long as he keeps his 3 going in space, it's just a matter,
Yeah,
Gavin's on a clock here.
It's a 3-2. I'm with you. I'm just talking about things Drew could do. Command, it gets grabbed. No surprise there.
I wonder
why
if he really needed to verify for 1 Destiny in there. Unless he was trying to bait Gavin into grabbing that so he could loop something else. Not really sure.
That's the only thing I can figure is I want him to grab something. I'm playing this. Because he doesn't seem to be in a situation where knowing his destiny would be relevant at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why check on 1 card back? Just thinking like maybe there's like an Ellis or a Lana, but I don't know why he would want to move his stack away from. Okay, so maybe he has Dr. E combo going to Luke at the Chasm Walkway. Maybe that means we're gonna see him Lana his whole crew over there.
That is probably it, because I'm like, this otherwise seems very odd.
Yeah, but even then, I'm not sure it's a move Drew needs to make in this situation. Okay, so that is what he's gonna Lana.
I agree with you. I think this, if this was just a game at a tournament, I might see this.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly.
In game 2 of a match, when you're up by 23 and you're draining for 3 in space, and he's hitting you for 2.
Right, like that turn could have just been do your 3 damage. You lock up. It could be worse. You draw up in your force pile until you hit one of your undercover spy answers, or even both of them. Like you could literally just spend your turn pushing your damage across and draw up for both of your undercover spy answers in Isard and Sniper.
Agreed.
But I mean, Gavin he has an 8-card hand. That is a pretty formidable crew there. And he still avoids the undercover spy, so that leaves him an opportunity to maybe send Isard to the council chamber later in the game. Maybe he felt like that gave him the most options right now.
Yeah, I'm going to give Drew the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what's in his hand, obviously, but like you just hit on some things that very well could be there, and this is also Drew being like, you're under 23. I want to see what you have. I'm putting you to the test. Start putting more stuff on the table. Like, in a certain point, this is actually kind of helping Drew's case to even win by enough differential. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like we said, it's still okay. And there's a barrier on daughter. It's still a pretty formidable stack. And to your point, he's putting Gavin to the test, making him okay. There's the GG
concession. Well done to Drew. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well played, Drew. Nice job, Gavin.
Yes. Gavin, well played. I think, unfortunately, Drew had you well scouted, and especially in game 1, came prepared, and then in this game just had a game plan for this and pulled it off perfectly.
Yeah.
In the interest of